From AccuWeather.com, this is AccuWeather Daily, a brief host-read article. It's weather news in a nutshell. A hole in the atmosphere's ozone layer is the seventh smallest since recovery began in 1992. That's according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in an announcement last week. The hole annually opens over the Antarctic at the southern pole and is much smaller than in most prior years. NOAA and NASA scientists estimate the ozone layer could fully recover by 2066 and no longer have a hole opening each year. NASA Ozone Research Team Leader Paul Newman said that the 2024 Antarctic hole is smaller than ozone holes seen in the early 2000s. The gradual improvement we've seen in the past 2 decades shows that international efforts that curbed ozone-destroying chemicals are working. The peak time for ozone depletion is between September 7th and October 13th, but this year's hole ranked as the 7th smallest since efforts began in 1992 to counteract the hole caused by ozone-depleting chemicals. The ozone hole this year averaged 8 million square miles, with a peak size of 8.5 million square miles on September 28th. The ozone hole's average size this year was about 3 times larger than the combined landmass of the United States. NOAA and NASA have reported the ozone hole's size every year since 1979, when satellites made it possible to track it. Areas subject to ozone depletion are subjected to more UV radiation from the sun, which raises the potential for skin cancer, cataracts, and reduced agricultural yields. Ozone depletion also harms animals in important ecosystems and damages aquatic plants. The Montreal Protocol established international agreement on ceasing the use of chemicals that depleted the ozone layer, which provides the Earth with a natural sunscreen. A decline in the international use of chlorofluorocarbons, combined with a natural infusion of ozone due to air currents from north of the Antarctic, helped the ozone hole stay relatively small this year. While the ozone hole generally is shrinking, relatively large holes have been recorded as recently as last year. The world's trees are in critical danger, with a staggering number of tree species teetering on the brink of extinction. That's according to a new global analysis. The decade-long project found that more than 1 in 3 tree species are threatened with extinction, underscoring the scale of the crisis facing our planet's ecosystems. The report for the International Union for Conservation of Nature's Red List, which dropped during the 2-week UN Biodiversity Conference in Cali, Colombia, revealed that of the 47,000 tree species assessed, at least 16,500 are at risk of going extinct, more than double the number of all birds, mammals, reptiles, and amphibians threatened with extinction combined. Planet-warming fossil fuel pollution is threatening the trees, which suck that pollution out of the atmosphere, meaning their loss is exacerbating the climate crisis. Some of the major threats that trees face also include deforestation for urban development, agriculture, invasive species, diseases, as well as sea level rise and more intense storms. Gretel Aguilar, the IUCN Director General, said the list reveals how the loss of trees directly threatens thousands of other species, plants, fungi, and animals, demonstrating how deeply interconnected our natural world is. Trees are the barometer of life, she said. They produce the oxygen humans breathe, provide food and shelter for wildlife, give medicine and sustenance to indigenous peoples, and absorb heat-trapping carbon pollution from the atmosphere. The highest portion of threatened trees is found on islands like Fiji, Cuba, and Madagascar. In South America, which is home to the Amazon rainforest, 3,300 out of the 13,600 assessed tree species are at risk of extinction due to deforestation for crop farming and livestock ranching. The Red List is considered the most comprehensive global source for threatened species and extinction information. The index categorizes species by those that are of least concern, near threatened, vulnerable, endangered, critically endangered, and extinct. These classifications are based on the species' population size, distribution, habitat loss, and other threats, such as the climate crisis. Being listed as a threatened species means that the species faces the risk of extinction, sending a serious warning sign that calls on governments and organizations to take urgent conservation efforts to prevent a species extinction. And those efforts need to start with trees. That's all for now. You can find more stories and regional forecasts at AccuWeather.com, and for your local forecast at your fingertips, download the AccuWeather app. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll be back on Monday with more from AccuWeather.